Greeting to all mothers and fathers, grandparents, godmothers, aunties, and uncles, as well the high school parents, kids. I hope everyone is doing well worldwide. It is Saturday's afternoon. I had an attention to recording that short video that very dearly personal to me, and I'm sure it is going to be related to many of us worldwide. For the simple fact, every family has a history. Every family has secret. Every family never told the truth to the daughters, to the sons, to any other family that you may relate it to. The purpose of that video this afternoon, it is from my personal experience. I'm originally from the continent of Africa. My parents were kidnapped during the Atlantic slave trade, brought to the Caribbeans, which is Hispaniola, today called Dominicans, divided from Haiti. I was born in the Caribbean. Later on, came to the state for my high school year. I was born in my grandparents' house, raised with my uncles, some of my aunties. My mother conceived me when she was engaged with my father. As we all know, every husband, every boyfriend or partner sometimes get in a fight, get in arguments, whatsoever they not agree with each other. There's nothing new under the sun. Everybody related to that. I was born to my grandparents' house, but I never been told when I become that age who was my father. To this day, nobody ever told me in my family about my dad. I'm at age little bit over 40. I just find out how my dad looked like last November 2019. It was heartbreaking. For the simple fact, when I find out what kind of man he was, what kind of family I have, sadly, most of them, the elders, the transitions, I will never have a chance to meet them, including my grandparents. With that being said, I was with three-type family. My grandparents from my mother's side, and my mother with with my stepfather he married to these days. And as well my aunties that were living in the capital when I came to the capital for my high school year. None of my aunties never have any conversation with me, my godmothers, and my mother never told me who my parents for my father's side were. My uncles never mentioned it to me. Nobody. I felt like past November, I was like a black sheep in the family. And I'm sure many of us that going to listen to that video related to my story. Well, it hurt when you don't know both your parents. You miss half of your life. It doesn't matter if your mom, your dad was a junkie. It doesn't matter if they choose not to take responsibility of you, especially if they had you at a young age. My dad was young. My mother was young. Back in the day, parents usually, when they say no for something, they keep it that way. But for what I find out, it was a simple argument. But maybe that time it was a big deal for my parents or my mother. I was told the argument was when I was born, hopefully I didn't look like my grandparents, my grandfather. And that was gonna be the issue with my dad. I mean, my mother came home, told my grandfather, it stop the wedding, is not going to be married anymore with my dad, which is understandable because if your fiance claims something is inappropriate and which is nothing new, because if you see the shows today, especially Jerry Springer and other talk show, you see women wanting the stage when they want to find out who the baby father is when they were fooling around with different men, including even couple married that not in the talk shows. Sometimes if you feel like your husband or your wife was unfaithful to you, you want to make sure you're going to take care of that kid and that child is your biological daughter or son. And I was told, my mother said to my grandfather, return the engagement. And that was it. Everyone keep it hush. My dad was living in a city with his family, and my mom usually back and forth to the capital. And when my mother visit the city, she usually stay in my parents, in my grandparents. I mean, in my father family. So the issue I have with my parents When I become at age, nobody ever mentioned it to me. I saw and my parents from my dad's side live close to my mother parents' side. Small little town, everybody knows each other except me. I saw my cousin with both of their parents. I saw my half brothers and sisters have their father home with them. I was the only daughter, like a stepdaughter, that was in a family who doesn't have any father. And we all knows no daughter. I know we living in a wicked age today, but a daughter will not carry a child by his own father. So I have a father somewhere, but never been told to me. And the other things is my mother kept my family size pictures on her channel with the man she's married today. I usually hear the history like, oh, this is the man I was engaged with. That's his family, brother or brothers-in-law, sisters-in-law pictures. But nothing ever introduced to me, even when I was at age, to understand. And the other sad part, I have auntie. We live in a village. You have to go away to bring water home. My auntie will find me in the street, tell me, let me bring you to introduce you to your parents, your other father's family. I will cry, upset, came home, one in nose, one in eye, water eyes. When they ask me what happened, I will tell them my auntie, which is I know today, was telling me I have other family member that she was going to take me to introduce to my grandparents. At that time, my grandparents was alive, and my school, my middle school, wasn't far away from where his house was. And I also have cousin, excuse me, that in the same school with me. Never been told. I play with other little cousin, and I have other family member. I thought they just other little kids in the neighborhood, and they were my first blood cousin. I moved to the state over 20 years ago, and I started digging for my family. Not too long ago, I get in touch with one of my cousins. I was told I have a cousin in New Jersey. I contact her, and that was the time I starting to know a little bit about my father. The auntie that used to make me cry when I was in the village. I make many trips to Haiti. I spoke to her. I visit her. Since I never introduced to my family. And at that time, she was blind. I don't know if she forgot to mention anything to me since I was that age, or she chose like it's too late now. It doesn't matter anymore. Then everything was swept under the carpet. Keep it hush. I never know. The main message today to all parents, family member, you don't have no idea how much you hurt your son, your daughter. It doesn't matter if that child was giving away for adoption. You, the adoption parents up there, you responsible to introduce this child to his or her biological parents. It doesn't matter what was the situations, how she become adopted. It doesn't matter if the parents was a junkie. It doesn't matter if the parents, even if the parents was a murder or molesting. The kids need to know who is her biological parents is. Because it doesn't matter how much gift you feel if you give the whole entire world to a child, you can ever replace his mother. You can ever replace his father. That's for all of you stepfather up there and stepmother up there. You can't replace the kid's biological parents. You can ever, if they need a kidney transplant, you can ever donate your kidney to them. Every children have the right to know the parents, not at all age like me. Especially if that person was asking, looking to know his child. Don't cut them off. I understand. I have my own story with my husband today was no longer on the earth. We know how men can be verbally abused, physical abuse, including the woman. It's both ways. Women can be physical abused, verbally abused to one another. But don't get the kids involved in that. That's between you and your husband. That's between you with your baby father. That's between you with your sweetheart high school that you choose to having a child before your time. Unfortunately, I was lucky enough last November to meet a friend of my dad that know him very well. Came over my cousin house, tell me a little bit about my dad. I wish I know his voice. I wish I know his face physically. But I was able to know him by pictures. I was able to know my aunties by pictures. I was able to know my grandparents by pictures. And I realized, I noticed in the pictures because in Haiti, when a parents, a family member transitions, usually have little kids, they take them to the funeral. I saw young kids, maybe my little cousin, next to my grandparents, to my grandfather casket. Where was I that day? Did my mother send me to school? Because my mother know. In Haiti, the village where I was raised is a small little place. When somebody transitions, everybody know. Yeah. I wonder where was I that day? Did my mother send me because I was like a child that was given responsibility before my time. My mother have 8 children, and I was the elder, the oldest one. So I was taking care of the house, cleaning the house, cooking, taking babysit my little brothers and sisters before age. Because a lot of Asian women, they like to put the kids as a domestic when you're born outside the marriage. My message to all women, all men today, don't do it. There is no outside marriage. A children can be tested for multiple father, but you have one mother. you should ever mistreat a child that you may, if you came to a marriage with. You shouldn't ever treating your biological child with the man you marry now, your new husband, different than the previous child you had from your previous marriage or from your fiancé or from your boyfriend. You should ever do that. You don't know how much painful that is. I was one of them. I wasn't treated fairly by my mother because I was an outside child. There was no so-called outside child. Especially most of the time, the child that came to that marriage became the most helpful for either the mother or the father later on in life. And I'm one of them. Without me, my mother will not make it today. I saw the way my mother being treated by his own biological children from her husband. I saw the way my mother being treated by her husband, my stepfather. I put my brothers first before myself. I'm there for them when they need my help. I help them to go to college. I forget myself to help them, support them when they need my help. And later on, turn around, pay me ungrateful for what I did for them. But it's okay. I hope someday my mother will take some time to let me know what was the reason she never introduced me to my parents, to my dad's side. Especially when you don't know if the mom or the dad, how long they're gonna live on the earth. Because my dad was murdered at a young age downtown Port-au-Prince, where he was in charge of a store. They came and robbed the store. They took his life shortly. So, Dad, I'm sorry. I never have the opportunity to know your voice. I'm sorry for the pain you went through. I'm sorry for those criminals that take your life before your time. I'm sorry. But I know you're in my DNA. And I'm very thankful I had the opportunity to have a son that looked just like you. I will never know if I didn't have a chance to know your, to meet my cousin and to see your picture. I will never know my son. It's you when I'm looking at him. Thank you. Rest in peace. I love you. I always gonna love you. And you will connecting back to me because you're in my DNA. I hope this message will change many parents, family members that choose to keep secret from your children. Please don't do it. You don't know how much you hurt that kid. Don't do it. It's hurt. It's painful. Please. I also encourage you. It doesn't matter if the family live close by, if they fall away. When the kids ask you questions, you have to be willing when they're ready to tell them who their father, who their mother was. Even if they're alive or if they have a different family member, it doesn't matter if it was somebody that, like sometimes women will call it, you're no good father. Sometimes we heard men calling, you're no good mother. She was a junkie. He's a troublemaker. Yeah. It doesn't matter what that person became later in life. The kids deserve to know who their biological father and mother is. As well, my godmother, today is about 9 days. I try to reach out to my family member because I will be travel to Haiti soon to have a long conversation with my mother. I contact my godmother that I was raised with in the capital, asking her if he knows anything about my dad. 3 minutes later, while we had that conversation, she flipped on me. And it's a long story. I don't have to say, I'm not gonna have enough space. I don't have to say that much. I don't wanna make the video too long. The answer was, your father was a nasty man. When she was explained to me what he said to my mother, like I described earlier in the video. All I'm saying, she wasn't helpful. Her response was something, why are you digging in something that happened for so long? I said, Auntie, I have the right to know about my biological father. I have the right to know about my other family member. Especially I have an auntie that was blind. When she in the village, she will go to bring water home. Or the little kids was putting work in front of her. She can hurt her feet. And sometimes I don't have no idea. And I will be seeing that and I'm walking I'm walking either behind her or if I'm walking in the same area. If I'm going down or she's going up, like if I was in the left, she's in the right. If coming from bringing her water home or she's going to get the water, the kids try to be manipulate her since she wasn't able to see for her to to bumping up to hurt herself. And I'm sorry, Auntie Tears. I didn't know who you are. I wasn't there to protect you, Auntie. I'm sorry. To make to finish with the video, because I'm going to do a part on it and Asian speaking, hopefully they will change their mentality of keeping secret from their child, of keeping secret from for so long from the children they have with a husband or a fiance or even a boyfriend. My advice to everybody today, don't do it. Don't do it. It's critical. It's trauma. Don't do it. The kids deserve to know who their biological father is. It doesn't matter. Nobody can replace their biological mother, their biological father. It doesn't matter how much you're angry and upset with the individual you have that child with. Don't cut them off from the parents. Please. This is my advice to you today. And don't mistreating them because they come from outside. There is no such thing called outside child. Don't do it. Sometimes that child going to save your life. Sometimes that child treat you better than your second husband you're married to, you having children with. Don't do it. This is a sickle mentality. Take it that mental illness to your mind, to your brain, please don't do it to your daughter. Don't do it to your son. It doesn't matter. And you can ever, even if you give that child the whole entire world, you can ever replace that child mother. I hope everyone will have a chance to watch that, to listen to that video. Please send a feedback, describe, appreciate it. I will talk to you guys next time. Have a good night.